I do really enjoy teaching, and it's just an honor to be able to reach out to new and prospective students in this way. My goals for tonight are to demonstrate some ways that I can really interact with you, not just simply by sharing videos and pre-recorded material. What I would like you to do is to vote a yes or a no. I'm going to give you a question. What I'm going to ask you is going to inform me about how much you're aware of some material that I'm going to present. Do you know what HeLa cells are? HeLa. HeLa cells. If you know what those are, I know that I am an English teacher, but that's one of the joys of teaching English is it crosses many disciplines. So you can select yes or no if you know what HeLa cells are. So if you could go ahead and indicate that now.
And here's a few more. Here's one of our favorites, John's favorite, what we wish we could go back in time and buy, Amazon. I don't know if you're making any Amazon purchases, but I've been supporting their company quite a bit recently.
Amazon is not my favorite.
Okay, it's not your favorite. Fine. We just wish we bought the stocks back in the day.
Right.
Because we love our local small businesses, but also I needed a filter for my fridge, so Amazon. So you can see here previous close, opening, bidding, and this is the one-day graph. Again, it kind of spiked at the end of the day. And let's look at a longer-term graph for Amazon. This is 1 year, so this starts in May 2019 to May 2020. So you can see, if you purchased in May 2019, you'd be probably pretty happy with yourself on those earnings here at the end of the graph, because that did jump considerably.
In case you are not very familiar with World War II, keep in mind that for people who lived in Europe and in Asia, the war began around 1930. So Japan and Italy and Germany were all engaged in terrible atrocities against civilians. They expanded, they took over territories. The United States was neutral during that whole time. So Americans were really preoccupied with the Great Depression and trying to solve the financial difficulties that went along with that. And they felt that entering the war could present almost an economic disaster. Okay, now that all changed in 1941. December 7th, 1941 was the date on which the Japanese carried out a massive attack at the naval installation in Pearl Harbor. So this really was, I mean, it was totally unexpected. Americans up until this point had assumed that the two big oceans would help to protect the nation. They did not think that Japan could pull off a massive attack like this. But as the color image shows, and even black and white images, right? It was just shocking, the level of loss. Over 2,400 Americans lost their lives.
I worked for American Airlines for a while, and we had great travel benefits. And I worked so much that I hardly got to use them a lot of the time because we were always working so much. So sometimes you have those issues too, where you just, when you're not in class, you have to work. So, so there's a lot of things that will determine, you know, where we fall on that scale. And usually once you travel some, you tend to move up the scale. You tend to get a little more adventuresome because your eyes are open to new things and you realize, hey, this was kind of fun. And then you want to do it some more. So a lot of times people may start at one number, but then they'll progress throughout their life. So, so let's talk about why people travel. I'm gonna share my screen with you again. Okay, can you see this travel motivation slide?
Yes, we can.
Okay, So these are the reasons that people travel. One could be escape, and so that just means that you want to do something that's different than your normal everyday life. You want to escape from your normal life and go do something that's completely different.